Hey guys, my name is Benji, and I am an aviation management major, which is basically an aviation major with an emphasis in business. And so I'm attending Walla Walla University, and it's an excellent school. Highly recommend it to all of you guys if you're looking into a great aviation school or just a great university in general. But I wanted to take a few minutes out of my day and tell you a little bit about what to expect as an aviation student and what that kind of looks like. So going into it, there's a whole lot of things that you're kind of bombarded with right off at the gate, and so it's really overwhelming unless you have kind of a track of knowing what to expect in advance. So that's why I kind of wanted to help you guys out. All right, number one, the book that you need to read the most, that needs to become your Bible, is this guy. You need to read it through many times. I'd say read it through twice. Read through each chapter twice, highlight things, and really understand it on a much deeper level than just knowing it for a test. Because if you learn it short term, you're gonna end up memorizing it and then forgetting it right after you have just spent all that time learning it. So it's really gonna help you in the long run to retain that information by spending more time with it. And that just means maybe reading a little bit more, or just being more intentional about the time you're spending with reading. The next thing is you wanna spend time with this guy. Now this beast right here, this is the test prep for your private pilot. It's for the written test, and it's got all the rules and regulations. It's about, geez, how many pages? It's like 11 chapters with over 1,000 questions. There's only 60 on the test, but you're gonna have to know there's only 60 questions on the test, but it's a variety of over thousands of questions they could potentially ask you. So it's really good to go through this a couple times and make sure that you know it very well. That's something I wish I would probably redone, is spent more time in those two books my first quarter starting off. Trust me, it's really, you don't want to put this kind of stuff off. It's important that you spend the time to study it out. I get it, when you're in college you have a lot of things going on, and it's hard to spend that time with books and stuff, especially when you have other classes screaming down your neck, and it can get really, there can be a lot to it, so it's hard to just spend time. I would say make this your priority and just spend as much time as you can in these books and memorize them. It's not really hard. Okay. All right, so I just went through my first quarter of aviation school, of flight school, and my daily routine consisted of having flight lessons in the morning, starting at usually 7 or 8, all the way to 10:30, and most of that time was spent going over, was practicing in the airplane itself, maneuvers and all the things that we need to know to do on the check ride when we take our tactical test at the end of the quarter. So those are things to keep in mind, that you're going to do a lot more time outside of class training as well, on top of studying for those specific requirements. So something that our university does is we have this worksheet. It's called a Preflight Worksheet, and it's where we put our name, the date, the aircraft, the weight and balance, the temperature, the weather conditions, and then we have to check TFRs and NOTAMs and a bunch of checklists that we have to sign off on before we even get into the airplane itself. So there's a lot of prep just to get inside the airplane. And so honestly, it seems like flying itself is what takes the most amount of time, and it's nice not to have to get in the airplane to do some of this training. So like training in a flight simulator, or like practice chair flying, because you don't have to worry about all that pre-flight checklist that you have to go through every time you get into the cockpit. And that's what takes up probably most of your time in flight school, is not even the flying itself, it's just getting prepped and ready to go fly. It's just kind of ironic, but that's the way it is. Yeah, we kind of covered some of the fundamental things here. As far as what kind of, you've heard of the flight computer, you've probably heard of charts, and you've heard of the logbook, and you've heard of the flight POH, which is Pilot's Operating Handbook. And I'll get into all those things. Let me pull up what I have. So yeah, for flight planning, you're going to need your ruler, which doubles as a flight computer and tells you the wind conditions and the crosswind component and the rate at which you need to fly and the angle of flight. So there's so many things that go into it. You need an updated chart to help practice and get that experience in flight planning and setting your course. This is really good to know. These are VFR rules. This is your knee board. So this is going to tell you your crosswind component. It's going to tell you your light gun signals. Go check those out. It's going to tell you your VFR flight rules and requirements for flying in those VFR conditions, special VFR, what that is. And then it's going to tell you your phonetic alphabet in this as well. The other thing you're going to need is your logbook. This is probably the most important thing, and it's really neat. Kind of open it up for you real quick here. I have, I think, about 24 hours logged so far. So that's what it looks like. Let's see if it will focus. There we go. And so you can see at the bottom, you add all these up here, these hours, and then you put it at the bottom, and then you go to the next page and it's running total. And you put that in here, first thing, how many hours I got before, and then I add up all these hours and then add it all at the final at the bottom. So that's kind of what that looks like. Here's your POH, Pilot's Operating Handbook. This is really cool. It gives you all of your components. So center of balance, making sure that you're within limitations, and your loading graph. And here's your the distance, your landing distance, and all those other calculations in here as well. It's got your flight, your systems, your aircraft systems, your engine systems. It's got emergency procedures. It's got your VX, VY, all of that information. So, and another thing, your checklist. This is your Bible. You're going to be using this all the time when you go get in the airplane, when you go fly. I would even say spend at least 15 minutes a day. I know it's crazy, but just sitting in a chair, like a desk chair, and then going through each of these items and just manually checking and like memorizing it. The quicker you can get to memorizing your checklist, the faster and the better of a pilot you will become, and more competent, and it will impress your flight instructors. Believe me, do that first thing, get on the good side right off the bat, and it'll just make you a more safe pilot and a more knowledgeable pilot right off the bat as well. So it's really important to really know your stuff and to spend time doing it. Again though, being an aviation student is kind of a really interesting thing. You think it's easy to be a pilot, but there's so much knowledge and training and experience that goes into, just getting the aircraft set up and ready for flight. And when you get in the air, it takes so much knowledge and decision making and thinking that by the time you get down, you're already exhausted mentally. So a lot of people think that it's easier to that being a pilot would be easy. It's not easy, but it's definitely rewarding and it's definitely really fun. But again, if you have a good self-discipline, which I do not, but if you can get that good self-discipline, those study habits first thing, like starting off the quarter, starting off the semester, you're gonna do much better in aviation, in flight classes, in flight training itself. And also get to know your instructors, get to know your professors. They're there to help you, and it's a really fun community, and that's something that I don't think you should take for granted, is that exciting part of being part of this community. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Yeah, okay, maybe I'll just tell you quickly about the schedule, what it looks like. So starting off, you're gonna have flight classes and flight training itself, where you get in the airplane. Schedule that. You'll have to work around your class schedule and everything. But once you get that set up, it's pretty well set. What else? So you have normal classes, you have your English classes, your generals that you need to get out of the way, and just do those, sit through them, get through them. They're not always fun, but once you get through them, you're well on your way. Again, know your charts, know how to read maps, know how to read weather, just spend time memorizing systems. Oh, another thing that they ask you at the end is you have to take a written exam that happens to be your private pilot certificate, so to say that you have finished ground school. So you need to be able to complete that test Then they'll sign you off and you're ready to continue your training. If you don't get it done first quarter, no problem. You can do it the next quarter. Here at Walla Walla University, everything is broken up into quarters. We don't do semesters. So there's 3 quarters a year. Go ahead and do that winter quarter if you want and get that out of the way. I might end up doing that as well, I think. Anyways, another thing that you're gonna do is a check ride. So it's where another flight instructor will see and assess how you're doing with the training, if you're staying up to par, if you're keeping up, and just to assess where you're at and if you're ready for that solo. So it's really fun. You gotta get your first class medical, or I would say get your first class medical to make sure you can get it when you actually are ready to graduate, but you can get a 3rd class and be fine. So you need your medical, you need your tools, so get a headset, get your books and everything, get the required tools, a flight computer, your goggles for instrument, and then just go through your books, start studying them, know your oral exam guide, just start learning the information, enjoy it, don't get stressed out about it, but spend time doing it and you'll be fine. Practice time with your checklist, do that every day. Read through this guy, read through this whole book, don't skip. And I wish you guys well. I think if you're pursuing a degree in aviation and business, I think this is the best place to do it. It's really fun, it's exciting, you learn a lot, you make good friends, it's a great community. I highly recommend Walla Walla University, and I just hope you guys will enjoy this video and gain something from it. If you would like to, please give this video a like, subscribe down below. More videos coming your way, and I'll share my experience of flight training with you guys. So take care.